The story begins in the near future. The US government deploys a chemical attack across the country in a drastic attempt to reset society. Within minutes, millions are killed. In the aftermath, the government abandons its duty to maintain order, leaving survivors to fend for themselves. Society splinters into two groups: violent gangs that fight for control of the territory, and domestics, those who simply want to live in peace. A few months after the attack, a domestic couple, Mark and Nina, prepares to leave their shelter. They're packing their car for a journey to Milwaukee in hopes of finding Nina's parents. Mark's friend warns him about the dangers on the road, but Mark insists on going to support Nina, despite their marriage being on the verge of collapse before the attack. He still loves her and sees this journey as a chance to rebuild their bond. As they drive, the car radio crackles with advice from a survivalist host. He warns domestics to stay off the freeways, watch for snipers, and shoot anyone dressed like a ghost, members of the Sheets gang, on sight. The tension rises as the couple presses forward. Later, their car begins to break down, forcing them to stop at an abandoned garage. Mark works under the hood, but danger soon approaches. 3 armed men enter the garage. Unseen, Mark cautiously moves toward the car, hoping to avoid an encounter. Suddenly, a truck bursts into the garage, and Sheets gang members emerge, guns blazing. They kill the intruders in a hail of bullets. Mark struggles to start the car as the Sheets hear the noise and move closer, but the engine roars to life just in time. The couple speeds away, narrowly escaping the gang's grasp. Over the radio, they learn of a brutal turf war between the Sheets and another gang called the Nailers. As night falls, Mark and Nina stop at an abandoned house to rest. Nina searches for supplies while Mark explores the rooms, eventually finding a gruesome scene: a dead couple, clearly mutilated during a violent attack. Overcome with sadness, Mark covers the bodies as an act of mercy. Meanwhile, Nina tries to contact her mother using an old radio, but no one answers. That night, Mark updates his map while Nina drifts off to sleep. Outside, a shadowy figure watches the house in silence. The next morning, the Watcher and his companion are ambushed by a group of Nailers. They are brutally beaten and threatened with a chainsaw to give up the location of the woman they had been watching, Nina. The terrified men reveal her whereabouts, but are shot dead anyway. Moments later, Mark and Nina hear the roar of motorcycles approaching the house. Nina hides in the attic, putting on headphones to block out the terror. Downstairs, the Nailers search the rooms. Mark, armed with only a screwdriver, sneaks behind one intruder and kills him with a swift stab to the head. A fierce struggle ensues between Mark and Nailer Dean, ending with Mark stabbing Dean in the stomach and eye. Bloodied and shaken, the couple escapes in their car, unaware they're still being watched. Dean has survived. On the road, the radio brings news of another gang, the Cherries, known for their ruthless leader, a woman who saves other women and eliminates anyone in her way. The couple stops at an abandoned supermarket to gather supplies. Inside, they're startled by an armed man, but the tension quickly dissipates when he removes his mask and introduces himself as Nathan. He explains he had been watching them to ensure they were friendly. Before they can exchange much more, the sound of a car approaching sends them scrambling to hide. Nailers storm the store, searching for Nina. However, Nathan's son, Stephen, lying in wait behind a counter, shoots them down before they can do any harm. After the skirmish, Nathan convinces the couple to join his family for dinner. They leave in his tow truck, with Mark's car in TOW. As they're about to leave the parking lot, they encounter the Plowboys, another gang led by a man named Jim. The Plowboys are patrolling the area, claiming they're on the lookout for a rival gang, the Gamblers. In the back of the Gamblers' truck is Betsy, a woman known as Cherry from the radio broadcasts. Jim shows an unsettling interest in Nina, but Nathan, leveraging his good relationship with Jim, persuades him to let them pass without trouble. Unknown to them, Dean is still alive and watching from the shadows. Later, Mark and Nina join Nathan's family for dinner, sharing a moment of calm in a brutal, chaotic world. But as they relax, the dangers of the road and the enemies they've made continue to close in around them. Tension simmers between Nina and Mark as they discuss their life during dinner, their strained relationship painfully evident. In contrast, Nathan and his wife show open affection, even dancing together, a stark reminder of what Mark and Nina have lost. After dinner, Nathan casually reveals that the hamburgers they ate were made from human flesh. Horrified and nauseated, Mark begs Nathan not to tell Nina the truth and announces their plans to leave. Nathan, however, makes it clear they're not going anywhere, backing his demand with a deadly threat. Chaos erupts when Dean bursts into the house, holding Nathan's young daughter as a shield. Demanding Nina and Mark, Dean strikes a deal with Nathan, who coldly agrees to exchange the couple for his daughter. As Dean pushes the girl forward, Stephen sneaks around and slices Dean's ankles. Dean collapses, firing his gun wildly. The gunfire hits Nathan's wife, killing her instantly, while Mark drags Nina away in the chaos. Stephen leaps onto Dean, stabbing him repeatedly as Dean desperately reaches for his gun. Outside, the couple hears several gunshots before escaping in Nathan's car. Back on the road, tensions between Nina and Mark boil over. Nina declares she doesn't want to travel with him anymore, leading to a heated argument. Meanwhile, the gamblers spot their car and spin a wheel of fate. When the wheel lands on a skull, a sniper opens fire, hitting Nina in the shoulder. Mark quickly turns the car around, deciding to head back to town for help. Elsewhere, Nathan contacts Jim, offering him the couple. Jim eagerly gathers his men, only to find them slaughtered. As he surveys the carnage, Betsy ambushes him with a pipe, knocking him unconscious. She frees the women captured by the gang, arms herself from their weapon stash, and drives off in a police car. Irritated by the noise Jim makes in the trunk, she stops to shoot him in the leg. Just then, something stirs in the forest. Distracted, Betsy goes to investigate, leaving her keys dangling in the trunk lock. The next morning, Nina wakes up in a cabin with a fresh bandage on her shoulder. Mark is gone, but has left her a note explaining he went to search for food. As Nina prepares to leave, she notices another note warning her the front door is booby-trapped. Climbing out through a window, she finds a car in the garage and rushes back inside to pack. Among her belongings, she discovers yet another note instructing her to listen to music. The record player spins her favorite song, accompanied by Mark's heartfelt apology, pleading with her not to give up on their marriage. Overcome with guilt, Nina abandons her plans to leave, opting instead to stay and drink while dancing to the music. From a distance, Betsy watches her. Once Nina takes a break, Betsy quietly returns to her car and finally kills Jim. Meanwhile, Mark explores an abandoned house and discovers two prisoners with bags over their heads. Removing the hoods, he's stunned to find Nathan and Stephen. Suddenly, a deranged man named William appears, holding Mark at gunpoint and forcing him to drop his weapon. William, a self-proclaimed lover of ultraviolence, introduces his hulking slave, Bill the Big. He declares that Mark must fight Bill to the death. If Mark refuses, William will execute Nathan and Stephen. Reluctantly, Mark steps into the ring. He lands the first strike with a kick to Bill's groin, but Bill barely flinches. Blocking Mark's next punch, Bill counters with a devastating blow that sends Mark crashing to the ground. Bill mercilessly pummels Mark, throwing him across the room, kicking him in the stomach, and lifting him by the neck to choke him. As William watches in delight, Mark musters his strength and headbutts Bill, causing him to drop him momentarily. But Bill recovers quickly, grabbing Mark again and hurling him against the furniture. Bill moves in to snap Mark's neck, but Mark bites his arm in desperation. Enraged, Bill throws Mark toward William, in the chaos. Mark seizes the opportunity to wrestle William for his gun. During the struggle, the firearm discharges, killing William instantly. With the fight over, Mark frees Nathan, Stephen, and even Bill, deciding to let them all go their separate ways. When Mark returns to the cabin, he finds Nina asleep on the couch. Gently, he carries her to bed. The next morning, Nina wakes up to find Mark practicing his shooting outside. She approaches him and asks to learn how to handle a gun. As they bond over the lesson, Betsy quietly sneaks into the cabin, discovering Nina's wedding ring left behind on a table. After their shooting practice, Nina takes Mark to the garage to show him the car she found. Mark recognizes it as the same model he used to own, triggering a wave of nostalgia. Reminiscing about the past, the couple grows closer and starts getting intimate in the backseat. Their moment is interrupted when the gamblers arrive, furious to find the couple using their car. The gang captures them and spins their wheel of fate. When it lands on a spade, Nina and Mark are thrown into cages and transported to the gamblers' headquarters, a dilapidated motel filled with chaos, drinking, and fighting. At the reception desk, the gang learns the couple is married and sends them to the notorious Snake Eye Suite. Inside, a host prepares for a grim game. The couple's hands are tied to chairs, with one hand painfully drilled into guns mounted to the table. Each gun is loaded with a single bullet, and the rules are simple. They must play Russian roulette. If they refuse to fire when instructed, 2 more bullets will be added to the chamber. Surviving 6 rounds will grant them freedom. Mark urges Nina to pull the trigger without hesitation, but Nina negotiates with the host. She demands that 3 more bullets be added to Mark's gun in exchange for reducing the game to 2 rounds instead of 6. The host agrees, and the game begins. As the countdown reaches 0, the couple fires their guns simultaneously. Both chambers are empty. But in the second round, Nina's gun discharges, hitting Mark in the shoulder. Chaos erupts as Wanda, another gambler, starts brawling with a fellow gang member over the bet money. While the host is distracted, Nina tugs at her bindings until she frees her hand, seizing the host's gun from his boot. Without hesitation, Nina shoots the host twice before using the gun to free Mark. As she helps him to his feet, she brandishes the gun to keep the crowd at bay. When the host begs for help, Nina shoots him again, killing him for good. Wanda, furious but unarmed, orders the others to let the couple go for now. Mark and Nina limp out of the motel, but the gamblers quickly arm themselves and give chase. The duo finds a working car, but just as rooftop snipers prepare to open fire, Betsy appears and takes them out first. The couple speeds away as Wanda and her gang pour out of the motel, firing wildly. None of the bullets hit their target, leaving Wanda fuming. In her frustration, she punches one of her own before vowing to hunt Nina and Mark down. A few hours later, Mark wakes up in Nina's childhood home in Milwaukee. Nina learns from her neighbors that her father succumbed to illness, and her mother took her own life shortly after to join him. They hand her a letter her mother left behind, confirming their tragic fate. After reading the letter from her mother, Nina asks the neighbors how they've managed to maintain a peaceful life in the suburbs. They explain their defensive strategies: a system of car barricades, rotating shifts as rooftop snipers, and hidden explosives rigged in a mailbox connected to barbed wire. While inspecting the traps, Nina is pleasantly surprised to reunite with Phil, an old family friend. Unbeknownst to Nina, Betsy has also arrived in the area. She hides in the house across from Nina's, keeping watch for any approaching enemies. Later, Nina notices Phil talking on a walkie-talkie. When she tries to get his attention, he suddenly bolts into his house. Suspicious, Nina sneaks over to spy on him and overhears Phil coordinating with the gamblers, who are en route to the neighborhood. As she processes this betrayal, Nina spots a little girl wandering in the street. She quickly drags the child inside her house, just moments before the gamblers arrive. Realizing they must act fast, Nina hands Mark a gun and instructs him to protect the child while she heads outside to fight. As the gamblers fan out from their cars, Nina takes the first shot, killing several gang members and forcing the rest to dive for cover. A chaotic gunfight ensues. Betsy seizes the moment, opening fire from her position with a machine gun, mowing down multiple gamblers. Distracted by Betsy, the gang shifts their attention toward her, giving Nina a chance to reload. As she does, a gambler sneaks up behind her, but Mark spots him from the window and shoots him down just in time. Wanda, the leader of the gamblers, refuses to back down, rallying her gang to press the attack. A neighbor stationed on the roof joins the fight, picking off gamblers one by one. Betsy, now out of ammunition, retreats to find cover, while Nina hurls a homemade smoke grenade into the street to confuse the gang. Inside the house, Mark faces a surprise attack when a gang member sneaks up and starts choking him. In a desperate move, Mark breaks the horn off the man's mask and uses it to stab him in the eye. He then tackles the attacker to the ground, driving the horn into his chest repeatedly until he's certain the man is dead. Outside, Nina fights fiercely, and Betsy realizes she's been shot. At that moment, the Plowboys arrive, seeking vengeance against Betsy for killing their leader, Jim. The Plowboys and gamblers engage in a brutal gunfight as the Plowboys' truck smashes through the car barricades. Seeing an opportunity, Nina activates the barbed wire trap. As soon as the truck touches it, a massive explosion destroys the vehicle and several gang members. The neighbor on sniper duty descends to finish off the remaining gamblers, but Wanda ambushes and kills him. Inside the house, Betsy, gravely wounded, approaches Mark and returns Nina's wedding ring to him. Before she can say more, Wanda storms in and shoots Betsy in the head. As Wanda prepares to kill Mark, Nina appears and guns her down first, finally ending the bloody battle. With the gangsters dead, Nina storms into Phil's house to confront him, only to find him already dead. Upon inspecting his body, she discovers a gang tattoo, confirming his betrayal. On the table, she notices her father's favorite gun and takes it with her. As she steps outside, she catches the young girl staring eerily at Phil's house. This unnerves Nina, as she recalls rumors of a child-formed gang terrorizing survivors. Afterward, Nina gives Mark her father's gun, and in return, Mark places the wedding ring back on her finger, symbolizing their renewed commitment to each other. Once they've recovered from their injuries, the couple sets off again, vowing to hunt down gang members and protect fellow domestics. Their legend grows, and the radio host issues a warning to everyone listening: don't mess with Mark and Nina. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe for more videos.